In this room, it's very important to kill the Beamos first. You want to snipe their red eye, which you can actually hit no matter which way they're facing since we're aiming from above. Just aim carefully and shoot them to kill them. So the puzzle here is pretty obvious, but you'll need to use the Dominion Rod to take these statues off the switches in order to unlock the door. In this next room, you want to use the claw shot to kill the fire slugs so that we don't have to worry about them coming after us. There are both fire keys and fire bubbles in this room, both of which will follow after you, and I recommend you gather them up and then use spin attacks to take them all out at once. As long as you're doing that though, you can kill the Dodongos at the same time. This imp Poe is a nasty combination along with these ReDeads. The trick to completing this room without taking any damage is to use ranged attacks to only take one enemy at a time. If you're taking more than one at once, then it makes this quite a bit more difficult. The ReDeads can be killed from a distance by either tossing bombs at them or using the ball and chain. The latter is very effective, so just circle around the room, killing all the undead enemies before you move on to the imp Poe in the center. Once you have collected the 59th Poe Soul, you want to run to the next door, and in this next room there are Ghoul rats. They don't actually hurt you, but these invisible rats will slow you down, and they can only be defeated in your wolf form while you're using your senses. The other enemy in this room is Chus, and one of which is red, so you can snag that in a bottle for a free potion. This late in the dungeon, that's incredibly valuable, so if you're in need of help, you need to make a mad dash for it. Just try and kill all the other Chus and slowly inch your way forward, and as soon as the red one appears, you want to kill it as soon as possible, then run in there and put it in a bottle for you so that you have health. Now you either want to kill the Ghoul rats and then let the Chus cluster up and gather up and get bigger, or you can kill the Chus first. Now if you go the Chu route, which I'm going to do, you want to use jump attacks to move over distances quickly while you have Ghoul rats attached to you. Once they're all been defeated, you want to dig up the single recovery heart that is in this room, and then move on to the 35th floor. This room contains a single Freezard in the middle, meaning you can't hide from its frosty attack. The only way to avoid it is to circle around the room ahead of its freezing breath. To make this a little bit easier, you can actually stay on the above platform and use the Gale Boomerang to try and pull up the ice keys and defeat them one at a time before you actually jump down into the room. This method takes a little while though, so I simply jumped down for the sake of the video so it didn't take forever. Unfortunately, I tend to slash my sword too many times and get caught. Now here I should have backed up instead, but I panicked. Sad face. These Chilfos are quite dangerous in large numbers. The first time you go through the Cave of Ordeals, there's only 4 of them, but when you come back here a second time, there are 7 of them at once. That's kind of a pain. I recommend using bomb arrows to take out at least a few of them from above. This will make this room much easier once you have at least 2 or less remaining. Jump down and finish them off once you've done so. Now, bomblings are also very effective against these guys, and so are moves like the backslice and the helm splitter. Other attacks that are effective but dangerous are the ball and chain and the jump strike, both of which are hard to pull off because they take a long time to charge up, and they're very hard to do it without taking damage. This room has both Leevers and ice bubbles, but they aren't too hard. You want to simply wait and use your spin attack when the Leevers close in on you. You can also use Midna's charge attack in your wolf form, but it's very likely you'll take damage using that method. This next room has a nasty combination of enemies that make it very hard to complete. I highly recommend you take out some of the enemies from this upper platform before you jump down. Now the ice bubbles and ice keys are the least threat in my opinion, but they are kind of friendly and they will come up to make your acquaintance occasionally. You want to smack them when this happens, or you can use the Gale Boomerang to try sucking them up and defeat them from up here. That way you don't have to worry about them when you jump down. The biggest threat is by far the Chilfos, which will keep you pinned down when combined with these Freezards that are on either side of the room. It's vitally important that you kill them before you jump down, or they'll easily just eat away at your life. Now this was one of the primary reasons that we had to conserve our arrows, so that we could pummel these Chilfos with bomb arrows, and this happens later on as well. Once the Chilfos are taken care of, you want to jump down and run to one side of the room, and lure the remaining ice keys and ice bubbles after you, then defeat them before tackling the Freezards. And one little tip I have to give you is don't stand too close when you're defeating the Freezards, otherwise the mini Freezards that will come out afterwards will be prepared to give you a hug, and you won't be able to avoid their affection. Darn things are pretty darn adorable after all. The 39th floor up ahead contains 2 Darknuts the first time you go through this, and it contains 3 every time after that. When they're armored, they're vulnerable to bombs, so one trick you can do is to stay on this upper platform, hit them with a ranged weapon to get their attention, and then wait for them to get underneath the platform. Drop bombs off the edge repeatedly, and you can quickly move on to the next phase before you even enter the room. Anyway, legit tactics is to smack them when their defenses are down, obviously, which is while they're attacking. You want to get close to taunt them to attack, and then back up so that they strike, and then quickly run in and hit them while they're vulnerable. Once you damage them sufficiently, all of their outer armor will fall off, and they'll toss their larger sword at you. You want to quickly dodge out of the way, or use your shield to defend against it. The only problem I have with that is that if you use your shield, then it will hit it, and then you'll be caught off balance for a little bit, and other enemies can attack you in the meantime. This is a dangerous point because both of them use different tactics. Luckily, the Darknuts in general tend to only attack you when you are close, or if you're targeting them, meaning that you can somewhat focus on one at a time. So at this point you can kill the more damaged one completely so that he's dead, or you can bring all of them to the second phase together. I think the latter method is a little bit easier simply because that way they all fight the same way. Now for the second phase, the Darknuts are swifter and more agile, and you can basically use the same tactics as before, but they're a little bit harder now and they aren't vulnerable to bombs. Now I made the mistake of changing my target often here, which I now know taunts them into striking you. Now instead, try keeping your target on one of them at a time, which I wasn't doing here. When Darknuts are in this second phase, how they fight is that if you use a regular attack, they'll parry with their sword, but if you use a stronger attack, they'll often counterattack instead. The trick to harming them is to make them parry, and then follow up with a stronger attack, such as a jump attack, backslice, shield attack, etc. So the trick is, you want to do this when they're not right next to their buddies, because what you do is you'll attack them, make them parry, and then use a jump attack. So attack, jump attack. This stuns them, gets past their defenses, and then you can slash away at them and defeat them. It really is a delicate dance, especially when there's more than one, but just watch them closely and you should be okay. After they've been defeated, you can dig up a single silver rupee in this room, which is worth 200. This is a very wonderful prize because it acts as a few hearts when you're using the magic armor. Now the 40th floor contains yet another great fairy as usual, and she will release the fairies in the Lanayru Spring, which is in Lake Hylia. You'll need the double claw shot in order to continue, so either speak with her to warp back to the surface, or join me for the next video for the next 7 floors of the Cave of Ordeals.